to the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Nizer. This is the podcast for those working in sports looking to level up your marketing skill sets so you can sell more tickets, sell more merchandise, and grow your fan base. Today, I'm joined by the legend, Steve DeLay. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. I apologize if my dog barks in the background, but she's the security guard for the house.
Love it. Love it. So today we're going to talk all things marketing. We're going to talk about the Ultimate Toolkit. We're going to talk about how to get more people to games. So let's start off. Why should teams even create a marketing plan? And what is a marketing plan?
Well, it's funny, in all the years I've been consulting and all the years I've been in the industry, people always think marketing and ticket sales are siloed. And in reality, marketing exists to drive revenue. And that revenue comes from ticket sales, comes from merchandise sales. You can't even say it comes from concession sales because if nobody's at the game, nobody's buying concessions. Likewise, if nobody's at the game, nobody's buying a sponsorship to sponsor a team that nobody attends. And even it's kind of funny because even at the college level, they talk about donations as a big component of the revenue streams for the athletic department. But eventually, even the donors, the alums, and all those people are going to say, why in the world am I giving money to an athletic department if nobody goes to a game? So all that marketing, branding, awareness, sure, that's awesome if you're Coke or if you're Budweiser and you have a $100 billion marketing budget. But for any sports team or athletic department out there, you've got to be really smart and really sophisticated on your marketing strategy and tie it all toward revenue, not clicks and engagement and awareness, because that doesn't generate revenue. Revenue pays the bills. Clicks and awareness and engagement doesn't pay the bills. That's why marketing is so critically important for a sports team.
So let's talk about alignment with the ticket sales team and in marketing, because oftentimes we've ran into it numerous times. Marketing's doing their thing, they're doing social media or whatever it is, and then ticket sales is running a direction, but them working cohesively together and working on the marketing plan, what packages we can put together, the different things like this, that is so important, right?
Well, it's gotten even better with data analytics. It's funny because in the NBA, everybody loves data analytics. So like there's 8 people in the analytics department and they're analyzing the customer and the zip code that everybody comes from and all that stuff. Yeah, that might matter a little bit, but when you dumb it down and simplify it for a college or for a minor league sports team, here's how we use analytics. It's we'll collect email addresses of people who are interested in us. And then the marketing team writes an email with a product that the ticket sales team thinks the customer would buy. The marketing team sends out the email. They then track how many people opened the email, how many people clicked on the link in the email, how many people actually bought from the email. And all those, the difference between the people who clicked on the link and the people who bought, everybody that clicked but didn't buy, that group of people goes to the ticket sales team. And now the ticket sales team's conversation with that prospective buyer is a lot different. It's, hey, I'm calling to follow up on an email you received from us about product XYZ, as opposed to, hey, I'm calling from the Make and Bacon. I hope you're interested in coming to a game. It's not a cold call. It's more of a follow-up. Let me help you answer questions. That's where marketing becomes incredibly efficient and effective in working hand in hand with ticket sales.
And that's what I run into every now and then, is that the marketing director thinks their job is to only sell single game tickets, when in reality it's selling mini plans, providing lists and leads for the ticket sales team so that they can close the door and get more people to the games, because it's a whole lot easier that way. So it sounds like as long as they're aligned on what marketing directors out there sending out and helping the ticket sales, like you got a fairly well-oiled machine.
Well, it's really simple. Incentivize the behavior you want. If you want a salesperson to sell stuff, you give them commission. You want a dog to sit and stay, you reward them when they sit and stay. You want a marketing person to generate ticket package revenue, group leads from digital ads for group sales and single game, incentivize them to sell ticket packages. And they're going to be really, really focused because now their income is dependent on it. If their income is only dependent on single game sales, that's all they're going to pay attention to. This is not rocket science.
Yep. Yeah, you're right about that. So in the Ultimate Toolkit, you have a process called the Sellout Matrix. What is that?
Well, I'm a huge proponent that sellouts are the anchor component of any sports team. And the reason for that is because, years ago it was, we got to sell season tickets. We got to sell season tickets. But why would anybody buy season tickets if there's always tickets available for your games?
Mm-hmm.
And it became, that's where, 30 years ago when I started this, John Spolstra, New Jersey Nets, ticket packages. We had 900 season tickets in a 20,000 seat building. Nobody was buying season tickets for the New Jersey Nets. So we said, let's go sell a 5-game plan. Let's go sell Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing,
Mm-hmm.
Magic Johnson, whoever else was in. So that same philosophy transfers forward to minor league sports, that you're not selling the opponent, you're selling, the experience, the fan engagement, the theme night, everything else that goes with it. But once you get sold out games and you have to actually turn somebody away,
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden everybody starts talking about it. Because not only did you turn people away, but also the atmosphere at the game was shocking, surprise. Wow, this is really cool. I do a lot of work with the ECHL. There's a couple teams in the ECHL I've worked really hand in hand close with over the last few years who hadn't sold games out in years.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a snowball effect. Once they get the first sellout, everybody starts talking about, then it's, oh my gosh, when's the next game going to sell out? Now, all of a sudden, one of those teams hadn't sold a game out in their first 4 years of existence. 2 years later, they sold out 8 of them this year. Next year, they think they're going to sell out 14. The team's not any better.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing staff hasn't gotten any smarter. It's just they've managed to create that buzz and that excitement to get people fired up. I remember when I was involved with the Savannah Bananas, the previous team that was in Savannah, the Sand Gnats, hadn't sold a game out in like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bananas, we said, we're going to focus on 5 games. Home opener was one of them, July 4th, maybe, last game of the year, a couple others in between. We got the home opener sold out 2 days before the game. And everybody in town was like, that's impossible. You couldn't do that. And then they'd call and we'd be like, I'm sorry, the game's sold out. Oh, when's your next game? Well, it happened to be the next night on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Friday's game sold out.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the next weekend game sold out. That first year, the team sold out 18 out of their 25 home games. Now, obviously, Savannah Bananas tickets are impossible to get, but that's where that builds on.
Yeah, so that 5-game plan, and I've seen teams do this a few different ways. They say, hey, fan, you pick your 5 favorite games, whichever ones that work for your schedule. Or in some teams are like, no, these are the 5 games that we're trying to sell out. Would you tell teams that are allowing fans to pick their 5 games to say, hey, stop doing that? Pick the best 5 that you want to sell out. That it sounds like that's the direction we should be going.
Yeah, well, and actually, I realized I didn't really fully answer your question on the sellout matrix. The way the sellout matrix, like to get a sellout takes planning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exactly what you said. For the 5-game plan, if you just say, hey, pick whatever game you want, you now don't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with group sales. If you need 2,000 group tickets on a particular game to get the game sold out, what group initiatives are you putting on there? Schools, churches, youth sports, whatever it might be. And the same thing with single game themes attached to that game. If to get a sellout, you need 1,000 tickets sold on single game, as well as 2,000 group tickets, as well as 500 or 1,000 ticket packages.
Mm-hmm.
That all lays out in the plan. And the ticket package component of it is so critical. Ultimately, teams say, hey, the idea of a flex plan gives the customer whatever choice they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I always use the analogy. A few years ago, I'm not a tech guy at all, but my TV died. So I'm like, oh crap, I got to go buy a new TV. So I go into Best Buy and there's 50 TVs on the wall. So the salesperson walks up and says, hey, can I help you out? I go, yeah, I'm here to buy a TV. He would have been a fool if he just said, go for it. There's 50 of them over there. Pick whichever one you like. Mm-hmm. Instead, he stopped and said, what do you do? What do you watch? How big of a TV do you want? What's your budget? Blah, 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 blah. And narrowed me down and basically said, this is the one you should take. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with a flex plan, where if you're a minor league hockey team with 36 games, you're basically saying to a customer, here's 36 nights. Pick one, pick 2, pick 5, pick however many you want. And it's partially sensory overload. And then the other thing I would say with them is, and my brother, and I'm not married, I don't have any kids, so I can't use myself. But my brother has 3 kids. They're all in high school or college now, so it doesn't matter. But when those kids were growing up, his wife had the iPad with everything scheduled out. And every kid was doing something, and every night there was, then all of a sudden when it was, hey, nobody's got anything going on tonight, like they'd realize it like 4 hours before the evening. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, quite frankly, my brother and his wife would be sound asleep on the couch at 7 o'clock. They weren't going, oh, let's go to the baseball game or let's go to the hockey game and use our flex pack tickets. Mm-hmm. So because life is so scheduled out these days, you almost have to say, here are the 5 best games. Let me make life easy for you and tell you which games you should go to. Just like the Best Buy TV guy said, buy this TV. Because if you don't, it's going to be sensory overload. They're going to not do it, and then they never renew.
Correct. So it's a one-time purchase, but in reality, when you have the 5-game plans and you're reminding the fans about the 5-game plans and they're using them and you're building momentum and you're creating sellouts, it builds on top of other things here. So a 5-gamer could turn into a half season, it could turn into a full season, and like it can grow easily because you've built the relationship with the fan, number one, and they know what to expect because they know when the games are. I think the flex plans teams do it because it's like it's a quick money grab, and it's like this doesn't work. Your redemption rate's going to be horrendous, and these folks aren't going to renew because they didn't use the tickets.
Yeah, and you think about it, it's like if one of your good friends says, "Hey, I'm getting married, and I'm getting married on July 28th," you put it on your calendar. If that same friend says, "Hey, I'm going to get married sometime this summer," and like 3 days before he's getting married or she's getting married, they go, "By the way, I'm getting married on Saturday. Can you come?" You're going to be like, "I got 9 other things I've already committed to. Sorry, I can't do it."
Yep.
And it's the game you get should be a memorable game. It should be part of your calendar, and that's the team's responsibility then to put the group initiatives and the theme nights and everything else to make it cool for the fans. So it's not just another game. It's not just another baseball game or another hockey game or basketball game.
All right, so we said, okay, we're going to start with our 5 best games. We're going to sell these 5. We know we have called 500 ticket plan holders. We know we have to sell 1,000 single game tickets and then 2,000 group tickets to get to a sellout. So if we're going to start to try to go after those single game ticket buyers or even the groups, what are some of our key target audiences of folks that we should be really going after to get them to buy these tickets?
Well, it's interesting. Years ago, I remember talking to an owner of a minor league hockey team, and the commissioner had said, "Hey, can you go sit down and talk to this guy? He really needs to get refocused." And the guy said, he was in a relatively small market. He said, "Here's my problem. I got 150,000 people in my market. 60,000 of them come to my games. I need to figure out a way to get the other 90,000 to come to a game." I said, "Actually, what would be easier would be if you get those 60,000 people to come back one more time, or even if you got half of them to come back one more time, you just increase your attendance by 50%. Which ones are going to spend? You know who they are, as opposed to spending countless amounts of money on mass media and trying to draw that fan who you have no idea who their interest level is. The people who've already expressed an interest, figure out who they are, capture their name, capture their email address, get them to follow you on social media, and then market to those people going forward as your number one priority." So the easy one is anybody who's gone to a game before, get them to come back. The second best one is anybody who's paying attention to you, i.e. social media following or coming to your website, directly advertise to them through digital advertising. Don't waste money and time and energy on billboards and radio and TV and all this other crap, because that's like, shooting it out of the wind. And it's funny because you think of like, if you like, I'm a pizza guy. I love pizza. And if you were a good operator of a pizza restaurant, you would capture the name of every single person who bought a pizza from you and then send them an email, send them a text message to get them to come back. Like Domino's Pizza sends me, I swear they send me 2 emails a day. And it's a matter of right place, right time, where I'm like, you know what? Pizza sounds good tonight. I'm in. As opposed to the small guy who doesn't do that, who gets you to come once and then doesn't pay attention and then does Valpak and, God only knows what else they're advertising, trying to get anybody to show up and buy their pizza when they already know they've got somebody who's interested, who's experienced your product, and ideally had a good time with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great message for not only sports teams, but businesses all across the country. I mean, you think chiropractors to dry cleaners to whatever it is, like target your current buyers to get them to buy more from you. I think for sports teams, if you can get people to come to multiple games, it's a whole lot easier to sell them a mini plan, that 5-game package. If they've been to 3 games, it's a whole lot easier to get them to go to 5 than it is to get someone new to come in. So 100% agree with you. So some of these audiences, we're going to start with the warm audiences. We're going to start getting folks on our social media. Are there some tips that you talk to teams about of collecting more email addresses? Obviously, groups and getting the group buyers, but everyone else in the group, how do you collect those email addresses? How do you get more email addresses?
Well, first of all, somebody on the team has to own it. Somebody has to eat, sleep, and breathe email collection. It's almost like you say, all right, you need to get the email address of every single person who's in the building tonight. And you'll hear people go, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of season ticket holders here. So what?
Yep.
Season tickets don't come to every single game unless you're in college football at Clemson or Duke,
Florida State.
Alabama, where they come to every single game. Florida State.
Hmm.
Even there, they don't. Season ticket holders don't come to every single game. They give their tickets to somebody else. So if somebody is coming to your event, having a good positive experience, how can you put a plan and a strategy together to collect as many email addresses as humanly possible? Then it becomes communication. So do you then send an email out to every single person the next day? Thanks for coming. Appreciate your time. Boy, wasn't that a great game? We scored 2 runs in the bottom of the ninth inning to win, or we scored a game-winning goal in the third period to win. Love to hear your feedback about your experience at the game. Here's 3 questions. Anybody who answers the 3 questions, you get entered into a sweepstakes to come back again, or jersey or whatever.
Hmm.
So now you're developing a relationship with that fan. And you conceivably, so tier 1 is obviously the people who've come to the game, collecting an email address. Tier 2 is those people following you on social media. You don't have their email address, Facebook, Instagram, X, they won't give you their email address. But you can do sweepstakes. You can ask them to vote. You can, we'll do things like, hey, here's 2 t-shirts we're considering. Vote for whichever one you think we should sell and give us your email address, and 10 lucky winners are going to get a free t-shirt of whichever one wins. So now a certain number of people give us their email address. They're following us on social media, but we have to be proactive to get their email. Same thing on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or anything else. It's like, how are you proactive in order to do that? It's actually easier to collect email addresses outside of the game than it is inside the game, because people come to the game, they're thinking about the game. They're not thinking about, hey, let me scan that QR code and enter for a chance to win whatever. They're thinking about, where's my seat? I got to get in line for concessions. I got to make sure little Johnny and little Susie get to go to the kids' play area in the store. And we'll worry about that sweepstakes thing later. So, but over time, if somebody owns it, it goes back to incentivize your behavior you want. Like, we used to do things, I don't do it in baseball because we control our box office, but I've consulted with teams in hockey or basketball that play in arenas where they bribe the box office window workers. So like a typical ECHL team will walk up 500 to 800 people on a given night, and the worker at the window works for the building, not for the team. So I've told teams, I'm like, what if you pay the people at the window 50 cents for every email address they collect? So if somebody gets 200 email addresses, they get $100. Give them cash that night. So they've got a reason to do it, because that walk-up buyer is not being captured. And there's no incentive for the person working at the window making $10 an hour who works for the arena to do it.
Yeah, they don't
unless you
care.
come to them with a reason to do it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Those folks at that ticket window, they don't care. Do you ever run into teams that say, gosh, those lines are too long, it's going to take forever to collect their email addresses, I'm just trying to get people in? How do you overcome that?
I asked them if they're paid based on how fast people come into the game. And everybody looks at me like, well, it's a bad customer experience. I said, okay, how bad is a bad customer? We've all been through crappy lines at the airport.
Yep.
It is what it is. You're there. You're not turning away because the security line at the airport's long. It's the same thing if you walk up and there's 500 people in line at the window to buy. Yeah, you'd like to get them through relatively quickly so they go inside and buy a beer, buy a hot dog. But that's where that's a high-class problem to have. If you got 500 people in line, send interns out with clipboards, and it's fill in this, and here's top half of the enter to win form is, here's our seating chart, here's the prices, here's what's available. The bottom half is, by the way, if you enter and put your name and your email address here, we've got a team autograph stick that you'll be entered in to win. So now the intern is out in the line, and the person in the line is engaging, they're capturing information. Literally, they can tear off the bottom part, give it back to the intern to collect the name, keep the top part. So as soon as they get to the window, they don't go through the usual rigmarole. Well, what's the best seat you got? What's the cheapest seat you got? Where do you want to sit? All that crap. The process then speeds up dramatically.
It actually speeds up faster when you do it that way. And honestly, if you think about it that way, that's actually delivering a better customer service, because now the fan has an opportunity to think through what they're thinking about, and the ticket gate happens to go faster. So you own a few teams, you've been involved with sports for many, many years. What are some metrics, some data that you like to look at to say, hey, we're doing a great job here. We really need to focus on this area. The high level is money. We obviously know we want money on the report, but what are some other reports and metrics that you look at?
I'm a numbers geek, a real nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I was talking to my team president, Macon, about this over the weekend because we compare a lot of numbers between Macon and Florence. And because the two stadiums are different sizes, we can't compare total numbers. It's not really relative. We compare per person numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, for example, we were looking at concession sales. And Macon's concessions per cap was substantially higher than Florence, basically the same business model. 90% of the people get all you can eat.
Mm-hmm.
But the product sales and the total revenue per person was significantly different. So we started breaking it down, looking at product by product. And one of the things we uncovered was beer sales per person in Florence were substantially less than beer sales per person in Macon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we broke it down further and looked at domestic versus craft.
Mm-hmm.
Macon happens to have a great craft beer provider. South Carolina, there's not very many craft beer people. So we were almost equal on, ironically, Florence has Bud Light and Budweiser, which last summer wasn't very successful, but we sold tons of Land Shark.
Mm-hmm.
Macon has Miller and Coors, but they have Terrapin Brewery, which is a local craft beer. And the craft beer difference was so we were able to hone in on where's our weak. It wasn't just, boy, this stinks, our per cap's down.
Mm-hmm.
It was, our per caps on craft beer is down, and the number of tap handles Terrapin Beer has in Macon versus the number of tap handles Seminar Beer has in Florence is dramatically different. So let's make changes here. So now you can really, even now, like we opened last week in Macon, we're looking at a beer sales comparison year over year. And the beer sales per person after our first game, we again, like data, we compared home opener to home opener. Our beer sales in Macon for last year's home opener, this year's home opener were 65 cents per person better.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to really look at that and really start to refine your effort. You look at T-shirt sales per person, jersey sales per person, hat sales per person. Because the ticket sales number is kind of there. You got it. You break down single game versus group versus package. But when you get into the weeds and all the other stuff, what we'll do is we'll break down where are our single game buyers coming from? Where are our 5-game plan buyers coming? So from a marketing standpoint, the ability to geo-target your digital advertising to zip codes on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or something like that is even more valuable as opposed to just we're going to shoot it out everywhere and keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, that spray and pray just doesn't work. The more targeted you are, absolutely works. So you're using per cap and you're drilling in to figure out a lot of different things. Do you ever look on the side of, okay, we know per cap's in park, but do you ever focus on how do we get the people who have purchased the tickets to use the tickets? Because there's probably some games where you have high scan rate of 90% and some games you have like 80%. And a lot of it has to do with weather in the baseball world, but how much emphasis do you place on getting people to use the tickets?
We'll communicate regularly with the people who already have tickets well in advance of the game. So, for example, we're recording this middle of the week. We've got on a Monday or Tuesday every week, there's an email that goes out to existing fans who have tickets. Here's what to look for tonight's game or this week's games. Here's what parking's going to be like. Saturday's game sold out. Get there early. And then a different email goes to the individual buyer. So we'll regularly communicate up front what's happening, what's not happening. And then also by salesperson, they can run scan rates for their own accounts.
Good.
So just Saturday, I was talking to our B2B salesperson in Macon, and she was first game. She made the offhanded comment. She goes, I'm amazed how much money businesses spend on tickets, then don't use them. And I said, all right, what you're learning is we need to make sure we're proactive in communication to those businesses, because the worst thing that can happen to you is you get to July or August when the season's ending and they go, yeah, we didn't really use them. Well, you'd rather tell them now that nobody showed up as opposed to have them realize it in August and decide not to buy again because you only have a limited number. She said, yes. So we put together a strategic plan on what her personal weekly communication was going to be to her business accounts and how she was going to offer out VIP pregame experiences, tours of the facility. They had a special guest coming, how she was going to make sure their special guest was taken care of.
Yeah, that's such a great lesson here and a great takeaway for teams, because there's lots of teams that will look at that at the end of the year and start calling people up and not realize that that person that you're calling didn't use the ticket. So you're going to call someone and they're not going to renew. But the more that you can be ahead of that and help them, it's just going to make it easier when it comes to renewal time for sure. I'm fascinated to know why a lot of teams don't even think about it. But I guess that's where guys like you and I kind of come in and help folks to say, no, these are the metrics you need to be looking at every single day, every single week, because this is what's going to help you make way more money and sell out this ballpark or arena. So
yeah, well, I think what happens is, especially in season, they get caught up in the weeds. Here's what's going on. I got a game tonight, or I got a game tomorrow. I got to handle customer service. I got to do this, that, and the other thing, which is totally understandable and totally reasonable.
Yep.
However, what they have to do is set up the system before the season even starts, and it's just part of what you do once the season starts. For an hour a week, 2 hours a week, I'm going to study and analyze scan rates from my existing accounts as an individual salesperson. And then I'm going to make sure I'm communicating to them. And this is where the team can also make sure they help craft the communication. So the 20-year-old salesperson is not left to their own devices. It's system, process, checklist, and making sure everything gets done.
Yeah, and it goes back to your point earlier with the 5-game plans, even with season ticket holders and using their tickets and making sure we're following up with them. Like the marketing team can help with that and send out, hey, Steve, you've got a game this Friday. Just want to remind you, here's the know before you go. Here's we're expecting great crowd. Here's parking. Here's the food, whatever it is. Like marketing can help on that side as well. And oftentimes marketing doesn't. And it's like mind boggling to me.
Yeah, because marketing's fixated on, hey, I got to post highlights from last night's game. Of which like 5% of the people on social that follow the team on social media care about.
Yep.
What marketing really should be focused on, because you're right, they can automate that process. Marketing can go into the ticketing system and run the scans. They can then break it down. It's all data. They can break it down by salesperson. They can then send the email out for the salesperson and then share the data with the salesperson that says, here are the 50 or 100 people we sent this email out to. Make sure you follow up, and it came from you, salesperson. Make sure you follow up with a phone call. And even the next day, they can say, geez, we sent out these 100 emails for you to your existing clients. These 40 didn't even open the email. You ought to reach out to them.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, you're working hand in hand and making sure things are successful.
Yeah, having alignment between ticket sales and marketing is so vital, like we were talking about earlier, and this just further slams home the point here. So a lot of universities, sports management programs, we're seeing a lot of folks who in the sports management program making the jump, getting internships or first years. There's some things that y'all are doing to be able to help universities. What's the program that you have?
Well, what we do, and we've got about, it's like 17 or 18 schools, including 2 that I teach at and actually teach the class. Where they're using components of the Ultimate Toolkit to teach ticket sales or teach sports sales. So with the Ultimate Toolkit, there's an online training program for group sales, an online training program for business-to-business sales, and an online training program for Joe Fan sales. So schools can use that. We make it really inexpensive. It's way less than it's like $45 for a student to go through the class, as opposed to if a team bought it, it's $300. So we discount it heavily for students to be able to use it. Also, students or classes can use our ticket sales strategy and tactics, which there's 2 ways they can do that. One of them, there's a book that's 10 or 12 chapters from the original Ultimate Toolkit. It's like the student edition of strategy and tactics. Then the other one is I took during the pandemic, I took all of our written material and turned it into online modules. So like my own class at Western Carolina, they went through all 25 strategy and tactics modules over the course of the semester and did the online group sales training program. So my goal was, and this is what every school, how do we give them a comprehensive look and understanding of ticket marketing, ticket sales strategy that actually train them so they can look at it and say, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. And it's kind of funny. In my class, I had 50 students. At the beginning of the semester, I asked all of them, they had to provide me an introductory video. I asked all of them on a scale of 1 to 100, with 100 being ticket sales is where I want to start my career, and 1 being absolutely unequivocally hell no. I had 3 kids give me an 80. Nobody gave me even a 90. 3 of them gave me an 80. And like 12 of them gave me a 1. They couldn't give me a 0. If they could have given me rated at 0. And at the end of the class, when I got the grade or the evaluations, there were a number of people who said, this class has proven to me absolutely unequivocally, I never want to do ticket sales my entire life. Perfect.
Okay. Perfect.
That's part of what we want to accomplish. But we also identified 10 or 12 kids who really were good at it and said, I understand it's not just grind out 100 phone calls, and if you do that, you get bread and water for a day or an hour. It's strategy, there's process, there's thinking, we went through the sellout matrix. So that's all built into that online program. It's essentially the same material a team gets, but we're now providing it to college kids at a very affordable price. So they get a full understanding of A to Z ticket sales, marketing strategy, tactics, and the training.
So that's marvelous for these students. They can put it on their resume that they have this. They know that they've been trained by an expert, and the Ultimate Toolkit is fantastic information. Do you ever help them like recommend, hey, these 12 are great, and you kind of say, hey, Macon, this is a good group sales guy. Do you ever do any of kind of the talent acquisition, helping them find roles, or is that kind of more of the school helps with that?
Well, first of all, very rarely does the school help proactively, which is part of our problem. So within our program, once they finish it, if they're a student, they can upload their video to our job board. And our job board gets circulated amongst there's about 300 teams in the country or colleges that use the Ultimate Toolkit or have made the investment in it. So that job board, they then all get their resume, their video gets circulated. The interesting thing is, and this is I'm starting to sound like an old man, this dramatic difference than when I was coming out of college. When I was coming out of college, the idea of going back home and not having a job, like, scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, me too.
My parents were they were sending me apartment listings going, if you don't have a job, here's what it's going to cost you to go rent an apartment here because you're not living in the basement. These days, it's like, whatever. In fact, I'll be honest with you, the 50 kids I had, I made a very direct, specific offer to all of them, especially the 12 that were really, really good. Said, look, if you've got a place you want to go, if you got a team you want to work for, a city you want to work in, let me know. I'll help you. And I only had like one or two take me up on the offer. Rather surprising, because I also know that, as far as I know, most of them didn't have jobs at the time. I made the offer in early April, and they were graduating a month later. They just wasn't in their mindset right now. It's a little bit different dynamic than what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. I just like you and I, when we were getting out of college, we were like, I got to get the job. I got to get going. I spent all this time, energy in college. I want to get going into it. So if a professor's interested, what's the best way they should reach out to learn more about this university program that you have through the Ultimate Toolkit?
Well, two ways. One, they can just go to the website. It's theultimatetoolkit.com, and it's spelled out there. Or just shoot me an email, stevedelay@theultimatetoolkit.com. Happy to get them connected to other professors who are using it, do a demo. I'll share my syllabus that I use in class. I've taught it both in person at Johnson & Wales. I've taught it online at Western Carolina. So I've got syllabus of both of them. I'll give them all the ins and outs. So here's what I did wrong. Here's what I did right. Obviously, I'm not a professor by trade, but I've been doing it now for about 5 years. So I kind of got a lay of the land of the process and what works and what doesn't work. So I'm happy. The more kids we have going through this, the better, because part of what I do in my classes, and I would encourage every professor to do this, is if they use it and kids complete it on their teamwork profile, and Buffy Philippel has visited my classes virtually and explained to people how to build their profile, on their teamwork profile under clubs and affiliations, they put Ultimate Toolkit certified. So now if I'm a hiring manager or I'm a director of ticket sales or I'm a VP of sales looking to hire salespeople, and I see on somebody's profile Ultimate Toolkit certified, I know that kid has already gone through sales training. And that kid should have a video of themselves doing it. And part of what I encourage my students to do, and any student who's participating in this, because I usually will drop in and visit all the other classes that are using it, is say, look, put your video on your teamwork profile. Don't leave anything to doubt, because as a hiring person, I don't care what your GPA is. I don't care what you majored in. I don't care where you went to school. What I care about is, can you sell stuff? If you've got a killer video, that's all that matters. You can have a 1.0. You can be Plutarski 7 years down the drain from Animal House. And if you can sell and your video comes across positive and looks good, the rest of it doesn't matter to me.
Marvelous. So I'll put links in the show notes of how universities can access the Ultimate Toolkit and your email address. So if they have questions about it, one of the new things that you mentioned is the Ultimate Toolkit now unlimited. So tell me a little bit about that and how teams or even individuals can take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun because we've obviously we did the Ultimate Toolkit to sell the last 8 in the house. Then we did the Ultimate Toolkit sponsorships. And the Ultimate Toolkit sponsorships covers all the strategy and tactics John Spolster and I ever did, all the way back to his days at the Trailblazers, what we did at the Nets, what we did at Mandalay with the Dayton Dragons and Frisco Rough Riders and such. And even now, I'm applying the same principles to Making Bacon, the Florence Flamingos. And so we took all that. That also included training, sample proposals, promotion ideas, combine that with the Ultimate Toolkit to sell the last 8 in the house, which is all the ticket sales strategy and tactics, plus all the training programs, and basically made it an offer out to teams that said, for a monthly fee, it's $1,000 a month for 12 months. So it's 12 grand, which you'd be paying a lot less for that than you would be to have me come visit you 3 or 4 times. And you get all the information, and you pay for it for 12 months. You get to pick up the phone and call me anytime. We have a call every other week. Teams bring the agenda. Here are the questions we have. Here's what we want to discuss. How do we do A, B, or C? Whatever it entails. And it's a really inexpensive way for teams to get my years of expertise, all the examples, all the samples, everything. I review all the videos and the sales training. So they get to go through if they've got a decent number of salespeople, they get to go through all the sales training as part of that fee. It's a really good deal.
Yeah. So if someone's interested in the Ultimate Toolkit Unlimited, how would is there probably on the website, there's a link?
Yeah, actually on the website, that's like on the homepage. It explains the Ultimate Toolkit Unlimited. They can see everything that's in it. If there's an interest, once somebody looks at it, reach out. My email address, my phone number, all over the website. And we'll give you a demo, show you all the material. It's really, really good for an owner or a team president who's just starting a brand new franchise. Because instead of, hey, I'm already halfway down this path, or we're already doing it this way, and how do we redirect? It's really fun working with teams who are like, all right, I got a brand new team that's starting in a year or 2 years. I want to do this right from day one. How do we do it? And that's where Savannah Bananas, Making Bacon, Florence Flamingos, and then all the way back to what we did at Mandalay, the ability to start from the beginning with the catalyst of a new stadium, a new owner, new strategy, all of a sudden, opportunity is almost limitless.
Yeah, marvelous. So many great takeaways, so many great insights. Steve, appreciate you coming to the podcast, sharing some insights. Before we wrap up, last question, best pizza place in Charlotte?
You know what? The funny thing is I live about 20 miles north of Charlotte in the Lake Norman area. So I've lived there for 7 years now. I've been downtown Charlotte like twice. So if you're asking me downtown Charlotte, I have zero idea. No clue. If you're asking me up where I live, I'm a big fan of Brick House up in Davidson, which is right near the college. Every Thursday night, I'm there with a buddy of mine because they have 250 drafts and great pizza.
Yeah, good to know. So if anyone's cruising through the part of North Carolina, a little bit past Charlotte there and near Lake Norman, hit up Steve's favorite pizza place. So, but nonetheless,
and call me because I'll go and have one of those 250 drafts with you also.
Love it. So it's an open invitation. So Steve, appreciate all that you do for sports and sports executives, helping people grow, develop, and sell out their ballparks and arenas all across America. So keep up the great work. We appreciate you.
You got it. Thank you.